Hello and welcome to the CX Files for December 7, 2023. My name's Mark Hillary and I'm in Sao Paulo.
I'm Peter Ryan in Montreal. Mark, great to see you. It has been a few weeks since we've done recording related to the CX files in terms of an intro. So great to be back in the saddle.
Yeah. And since we talked, we've actually both been visiting the UK in November, and it was extremely cold. I mean, right now I'm back home, and it's so hot here. It's like the high 30s. I'm just, sweating, just sitting here in front of a microphone.
Then can I really suggest that you change your attire for those people listening, and you can't see us, but Mark has got a football jersey on. It looks like a rugby jersey, and I tend to think that maybe something in the short sleeved order would be a little bit more appropriate for today.
Yeah, but as we record, my team, Palmeiras, just won the Brazilian Championship last night. So, of course, everyone who's a supporter is walking around wearing their shirt today.
All right, well then I'll give you a buy on this one, but for heaven's sakes, just dress accordingly depending on the climate. We don't want anyone getting heat frustration.
Well, on that subject of weather, it's actually very closely connected to our subject this week, because we're talking with Southeastern Trains, which is one of the largest train operating companies in the UK. They cover the whole region to the southeast of England, basically to the south of London. And we've got Christine Haynes, who's the head of customer transformation, and Yvonne Quinn, who's head of customer relations. And I'm sure that you must have had experience in your time of traveling around the UK by rail, Peter.
Yeah, I will say when I lived in the UK, I cannot tell you in all transparency that the rail network was something I truly relished to get involved with. One of the things that I will say is that there has been a tremendous amount of challenges in regards to rail transport and passenger transportation, especially. I will tell you, Mark, as well, that depending on the region you're in, some areas can be better than others, but there's been a huge amount of disruption. And I can only imagine that managing customer experience within the UK rail sector cannot be something that's going to be straightforward. I'm sure it's full of challenges. And our guests today, I'm quite certain, are going to give us a little bit of insight and a little peek behind the door in terms of what they need to contend with on a daily basis. And, as you say, weather-wise, coming into the winter, even coming into the autumn, I can recall many issues at least 15, 20 years ago. Leaves on the rails. You had going into the winter season, the tracks freezing over and that causing disruption. People were left on the platforms. Nobody was taking responsibility in terms of getting people to where they needed to be. So yeah, certainly I'd say with regards to this week's podcast, there's definitely going to be a lot of very provocative thoughts come out.
Yeah, and it's very interesting because it's not like a sort of regular organization. This is a regulated industry, but it goes all the way up to government. So you have to report to the government. You have an ombudsman that's controlling the complaints process. You've got the company itself. Then you've got like national guidelines. There's a new guideline around refunding people if the train is more than 15 minutes late. So you have all these kind of competing priorities, as well as trying to just manage the day-to-day process of handling customer complaints and handling refunds.
Yeah, exactly. And while all these things sound great and they look good on paper, here's the reality. We know that the ombudsmans, no matter where they are from a transportation network anywhere in the world, are backed up. They can't manage the volumes of complaints they get, whether it's rail, whether it's air. And customers just end up getting frustrated, and they end up really, I think, losing not just their patience, but their faith in the process and how things work. So, Mark, I think back to an incident that you and I had, and this is going back about 10 years ago, when you and I went to see a triple bill of Tapao, Go West, and Nick Kershaw out in Guildford. And we left with plenty of time on a Monday evening to get out to Guildford. But if you recall, there were maybe 2 or 3 trains that literally could not accommodate us. We couldn't get on because they were too packed. And then all of a sudden, the trains just stopped. When we did get on a train, it just stopped in the middle of the journey and didn't move for like another 45 minutes. We barely made the show. But the reality is, this is what people in the UK are dealing with on a regular basis. And when you compare the rail customer experience in the UK with what you get in Germany, in France and Belgium and Spain and Italy, where it's really white glove and things work very, very efficiently, it's understandable why people in the UK do have these worries about the amount of money that they're spending and the value they're getting for their money.
Yeah, and of course, there's been a lot of changes in the industry. I mean, COVID completely destroyed commuter numbers, and now you're seeing hybrid working is actually sort of creating a sort of permanent change to the way that people travel around. So why don't we go to the interview, and then we can hear directly from Yvonne and Christine about Southeastern trains and their strategy.
I'm very anxious for this one.
Hey, Yvonne and Chrissy, it's fantastic to get you on the podcast. I don't think we've ever had a train operating company on this podcast before, and clearly it's something that affects many of the listeners. Everybody either commutes to work or travels to see their family or something, and so it's going to be a really interesting discussion, I think. But before we kick off, let's start by just understanding the business a little bit. How many trains is Southeastern operating, and how many passengers are you serving each day or each week then?
So Southeastern is one of the busiest commuter rail companies in the UK, running more than 1,700 trains and over 400,000 passengers every day between London, Kent and East Sussex. So Chrissy and I work within customer relations team, and for our department, we handle sort of on a 4 weekly basis, about 7,000 calls we receive, 10,000 emails and about 45,000 delay repay claims.
Disruption to train services must be one of the most common sources of complaints then. So is there any way that you sort of can keep that to a minimum?
So whilst we never want our customers to be delayed, we know it can't always be avoided. So we work very closely with Network Rail, who own and manage the railway infrastructure, and have spent the last few months developing our partnership with a new alliance. Our joint purpose through the alliance is to work together to secure a thriving future for our railway and the communities we serve. We want to constantly deliver better outcomes for our customers, and we believe the railway works better and improvements can be made faster when we work better together.
And something we've done really recently is so to really form that alliance and that partnership is we've jointly done our vision together. So both ours and Network Rail's vision is about proud to serve the Southeast. So that's, something that's really embedded, that strong alliance partnership that's jointly developed together, so that everything we're doing for our passengers around the railway, disruption, if it comes, unfortunately, there's that real joint partnership there to really resolve it quickly and effectively.
Okay, and you mentioned the delay repay national scheme there as well, and that is, I think, because I don't live in the UK anymore, so I don't think that I've lived there while this scheme has been in place, but it compensates if there was a minimum 15-minute delay on a journey. So how do you manage that process, and how do you manage, is it like handled separately compared to like more general kind of complaints then?
Yeah, so what so delay repay is the national sort of delay repay scheme now across all train operating companies. So some have slightly different sort of tweaks in sense of when I say kicks in. So for us on Southeastern, it's if you're delayed by 15 minutes or more, you're absolutely entitled to compensation. So over the years, we've done a huge amount to really publicise around delay repay firstly. So we've made sure that, it's advertised on board, at stations. If there is a delay, the automatic announcement should kick in. Recently, we introduced something called a one-click delay repay. And what that will do is that allows our passengers to tell us roughly what trains they're travelling on, so that we can then keep an eye on those trains, and also using their tap data. So we've got a system called a key card, which is where you can load your ticket onto a card, and then you can use that to tap in and out at the barriers. And then we'll also use that data to detect if there's been any delays, and then we'll automatically send you a notification to say, I think you were delayed. if you were, click here. So it's a really quick and simple process for our passengers. So that's just some of the things we do around advertising it and really getting that awareness levels up. And then this is really where our sort of partnership with Teleperformance really plays dividends, is that actually between the both of us, delay repay is sort of one of our work streams that's quite automated and quite rule based. So, you know, was the train delayed? Yes or no? Fine, it was. Let's find your ticket. Got your ticket. Let's give you your money back. So that delay repay side is dealt with sort of really by sort of one type of dedicated team and dedicated work stream and processes. But then when it comes more on to sort of general complaints, again, we've got separate dedicated teams who are dedicated to that volume, and all the forecasting is done to sort of predict seasonality and where those teams might be needed. But again, this is where between us and Teleperformance we work so well together, is wherever the sort of peak volumes are, all of our teams are multi-skilled. So it makes it really great that if there is times of huge peaks in certain areas, whether that be delay repay or complaints or just general inquiries, between us and the Teleperformance team, we can really move those teams around and be quite agile with how we sort of deliver every day. There's something called the complaints handling procedure as well. So all train operating companies have procedures to adhere to. So it's quite a formal process. So although within our business, there's a lot of things that are quite rule-based driven and formal process. And what we really try and do is make sure that we have our rule book, but then actually we're humans. And we're human people and do the right thing. So that's sort of the ethos that we push within our teams. I could go on, I'm sorry. Go your next question, Mark.
That's fine. Well, I was just going to ask about something you mentioned, that because you talked about seasonality and it being busier at some times compared to others. But how do you handle it if you get like a sudden peak, like, you know, there's trees on the line, or we've seen all these storms in the UK recently that have caused flooding chaos, and you know that must really just sort of throw a complete spanner in the works for you. How do you get the, you know, boost the team so that you can handle that kind of volume?
Yeah, no. So I think the great thing is, and Yvonne will probably talk about it a little bit more throughout sort of this podcast, but we have got a fantastic rail system that we implemented. And so a lot of what we can do is automated. So if it is a delay repay claim, for instance, so if the seasonal tree on the line, the main reason the passenger wants to contact us, they want the compensation, a lot of that is automated so we can process really high volumes. What we've also done within the systems is we can tweak certain rules. So if we're seeing really, really high peaks, we can tweak some of the rules. That means we'll override a few things and make a few more claims go through a bit quicker. You know, and that's obviously done with fraud in mind as well. So we obviously make sure all those measures are done, but we can sort of process slightly higher volumes than we would do normally. And then again, really, this is where your strong multi-skilled teams come in. So what we can do, for instance, if it's right there, and we've got major disruption across our network, we've got a lot of the teams who are multi-skilled, so we can move them around the different channels of contact. So telephony will be coming in thick and fast at times, and that's actually a channel for us that's still, when you look at other industries, that telephony channel is massively driven down, and that channel, although it's dropped off slightly over the years, it's still really a high contact volume channel for us. So we can move our multi-skilled teams onto that channel to really help drive down the volume there and then. And then once that telephony volume's gone down, we can then tweak and move the teams over to the different work streams to really help us out in that area. So that's sort of mainly what we're doing. Then again, web chat, I think I'm hoping Yvonne will talk a little bit more about web chat a bit later on as well. But web chat's a really new channel that we've introduced. And so for right there and then get the answers I want quickly, that channel's proving huge dividends to us. Yeah,
and maybe it's worth commenting on that now, actually, because I think that when there's disruption and a sort of immediate problem right in front of the customer. That's normally what drives a voice call, because you want to hear immediately what you can do and how you can resolve the situation, rather than no one's going to send an email or even a text message can, when there's a lot of volume, it can take a long time to be answered. So how is that sort of changing then? Is it like web chat from within the app?
Yes. So we know digital contact is what our customers want more and more. So from February this year, we did introduce web chat, which does provide an instant contact digitally. And it's going really, really well. And we've also managed to automate a lot of it. So in fact, 80% of the contact we receive via web chat, we can automatically answer instantly, within seconds, minutes. Otherwise, we do have staff on hand that can help for the more complex cases. And we also hope perhaps for next year, we can introduce some AI elements into our web chat as well to make it even more clever in what it can tell our customers.
I think as well, to add to that, Mark, is one of the biggest things is we really do want to push automation, AI to its maximum capability. However, what we never ever want, and whenever we develop anything, we always say, think about ourselves. If we're in a situation where we need something, have we ever gone, I just want to speak to somebody? And so if we've got that in our minds, whatever we're doing, any of our programming or AI, have that in your mind. So at any point, if someone says, do you know what, I can't go through this channel anymore, I just want to speak to somebody, that also is really important to us, that somebody is there all the time. But we'll try and guide you down self-service to start with, which what we're all getting used to. But that's something that Yvonne and the teams have worked really hard on, is to also make sure, okay, if you want somebody, we'll get somebody for you.
And it's true that rail travel itself has changed, even in the past few years. There's been passenger volume changes since COVID. There's climate change. That we've seen waves of industrial action. So there's a lot of change, like kind of macro changes to passenger behavior. So how do you kind of manage the daily stuff? Answering the calls, but also sort of build a strategy for the next 5 years at the same time. Then.
Yeah. So I think COVID hit everywhere, didn't it? Really. And I think at one point we were down to about 11% of passengers travelling when it first hit. Thankfully, I'd say we're back up to around 77% of our pre-COVID travel. So we've got a long way to go yet, but it's something that our business is really focused on, is really driving back our passengers. Our strategy is obviously digital. So when we do bring our passengers back, is to really enhance the digital transformation side on the ticketing, on journey planning, on anything that you're doing, tracking your journey, information, anything you need. So we're really pushing that. Season tickets, what's called an S ticket. Yvonne and the team have been working extremely hard on introducing that new technology, which should go live next week, fingers crossed. So that'll be around S tickets on your phone. So again, really trying to drive that season tickets back to us. So our leisure travel is back to normal, which is great. And actually we're seeing a bit even more even more leisure travel coming back. So that's wonderful. So we're really trying to push sort of travel to the coast, travel locally, and don't use your car, come and use our train. And some of the things we're doing to try and improve sort of how passengers can monitor what impact they're having. We've recently released like a carbon calculator on the website. So what you can do is also track your journey, but see what sort of carbon footprint impact you're making as well. So that's really great. So we're really trying to encourage passengers to really use the train at any point you can, push digital, and then absolutely push our season tickets back. And that's definitely our sort of future goal, and hoping to see as many passengers back as possible.
Okay. Well, I wanted to ask you about the award that you won recently as well. That was the ECCC SA 2023 Silver Award for Best Cross-Functional Collaboration. And these are, I think, one of the most important awards ceremonies. You know, this is one of the ones that people take seriously in the industry. And you know, and that was really for your collaboration with Teleperformance, who you mentioned earlier that you'd been working with for a few years now on your customer service strategy. I mean, how long has that partnership been going then? And what did the judges notice that made them give you an award for collaboration?
So we've been partnered with Teleperformance since September 2015, so a little over 8 years now. And whilst we haven't had any official feedback yet from the judges, because it was only a couple of weeks ago now, but strongly believe that we were really able to demonstrate our really strong relationship that we've built over those 8 years. We really do work as a team. It's not them and us. We're very much joined up, and we've always got the customer at the forefront of everything we do.
And I think that that's interesting because quite often, you know, I talk to people on both sides of the, you know, both the BPOs and the companies that are buying services from them. And you hear so many sort of RFP horror stories where people are just, you know, comparing 10 different companies and everything eventually just comes down to the contract price. I mean, how are you seeing this value of collaboration and partnership then? I mean, are they kind of like, I don't know, eyes and ears into the future of CX for you guys then?
Yeah, definitely. So I think you're right, the horror stories are there. And I think there's no hiding from that. They're there. What I am pleased to say is our passengers are at the heart of everything that we do. So one of our sort of key objectives is around our passengers and delivering the best ever passenger experience for them. And that is taken through in everything we do, and also when it comes to sort of tenders and RFPs. What we've literally just, I say literally, it feels literally, so it was only sort of in the last 2 years that Teleperformance have re-won the contract. And what we actually did this year with the contract was run an exercise where it wasn't what I'd call your standard send your tender out with 1,000 questions and get back your 50,000 document and read through it page by page. What we actually did was run sort of a really engaging, collaborative approach. So we issued out to anybody who sort of showed their interest a set of objectives for us. And that actually as a business, what objectives we want to deliver. And we put it out to the experts. So you're the experts. I say you're Teleperformance are one of the experts out in that field. So we're looking for Teleperformance to help tell us, okay, that's the objective you want to achieve. That's how I think you should do it. And gave us lots of examples. And then what we did was sort of a midway checkpoint to say, right, these are our objectives. Teleperformance said, okay, what about aiming for these areas? And then we were able to say halfway through that process, love all of those ideas, not so keen on that one, love that one, now keep pushing on with your process. So it was a really great collaborative approach. And obviously it was fair because it was done, the same approach was used across anybody who was sort of tendering. But it was for me, it was the first time I'd done any type of sort of RFP exercise like that, where it wasn't issue all your questions, wait for all your answers. And actually, that's what we should be doing in a tender. You're the experts in the field. We're not. What we know is what we want to achieve. But, use the experts there who are experts in customer experience to tell us how we deliver that.
Yeah. No, I think that's how it should work. That's what you're going out to the market to find is that expertise.
Yeah.
Before I knew I was going to do this interview with you, so I started looking around to see who actually is responsible for rail in the UK, and I found that the government's actually got an office of rail and road that's overseeing the national system. I mean, have they assessed anything like delay repay? I mean, does the government get involved in these kind of customer service initiatives?
So the Office of Rail and Road, which we call the ORR, we do have to report into them every period with all our contacts, all our results, our average response times and everything. We're very transparent with what we're doing. And they set what they call a code of practice for delay repay that all train operating companies have to sign up to and agree to every year. And we have to demonstrate each year how we've shown our commitments to that code of practice. So we report that annually. And we also have to show or tell them what we're going to do even further to improve things. So we don't like to just do the standard. We want to do more than the standard. So we're always pushing ourselves to look for new ideas and initiatives on what we could be doing better. And we put that to the ORR, and they're always, very thankful for our ideas and very supportive. And we've always passed in their audits that they've done on us and the code of practice that we follow. So, yeah.
Okay, and I know that there is an ombudsman in place as well that and the rail ombudsman will pick up complaints if the passengers basically not getting any joy from the train operating company and they feel they need to take it further. Have they been involved in delay repay, or have they commented on complaints procedures actually improving since it was introduced?
Yeah, not so much delay repay they get involved with, but definitely customer complaints. They are the referral point if a customer feels they can't get the answer they're looking for with the train operating company. So we are very proud of our results with the Rail Ombudsman. They've recently just published their latest quarterly report, and we came out on top as the least referrals of any other train operating company, which we're really proud that as a team with Southeastern and Teleperformance, we've been able to achieve that. It really shows that we're able to work together to get the customers' complaints answered. First time response is what we're always aiming for, and that really shows that we're achieving that. And we were able to show 100% of our simple cases were not upheld, and we're the only English franchised train operating company that have achieved that. So we're extremely proud of our results with the Ombudsman.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I think it shows then, you've got statistics that sit behind direct improvement in the customer experience. You can actually point to something and say, here's how it was 5 years ago, but look at the complaints procedure now.
Mm-hmm. No, and I think those, when you're looking at a rail ombudsman as well, they're extremely independent. So there's there's no favourites. There's one rule book that you're all aligned to, and there's one set of standards that you're all aligned to. So sometimes you think some people will probably be quite nervous to see that report. We're so excited when that report comes out, because we really believe that anything we do, we're trying to do the right thing as well. So, when those reports come out and show sort of per 100,000 passenger journeys, how we're sort of being ranked against other train operating companies as well, is a real inspiration for our team as well. Who work so hard every day. And then to see those results just sort of gives them an extra sort of uplift to really carry on and demonstrates that you're doing the right thing. And keep going.
And have you seen that directly improve the employee experience? So the people within your team can actually feel that they are more effective in their job then, because of the strategy that you've introduced.
100%. And it's sort of when the Rail Ombudsman was first introduced a number of years ago, what we had to do was have a real good look at, okay, what used to happen is we used to have the passenger bodies where passengers could then go. They could go to the passenger bodies, but there was no rules set. And it, all depended who you went to at the passenger bodies as to what the outcome might look like, and they weren't governed either. So they could only give us guidance. So we had to sort of step back again and have a real good look at the approach and what are some of the things that we want to really do to go the extra mile, go the extra level, and really understand. So what we did at the time was then introduced a new quality manager. So all his day job is to assess quality, how's things going, and then he oversees all of the Rail Ombudsman process as well. So any cases that are referred, he can review them end to end, and even before we refer them as well, he's almost like an independent for our internal side, and he can really have a look through everything and really say, have we done absolutely everything we can, and have we explained it correctly? So it's not always about the money. And a lot of the time it's just about explaining the processes that we have in place. So that was a real step change for us, is to bring in that new role to really help us sort of go to the extra boundary. But yeah, I think when those results come back, we can celebrate it internally, and we can share it across the business, and it really inspires the team to do more and to keep going.
So would you say that that's one of the key learnings of the experience then, I guess, is to take quality as a separate kind of overarching process, and it has a direct impact on both customer experience and employee experience. Yeah,
definitely. I think our and the team is really good as well for the teams, and we do sort of a lot of sessions where it will sort of take the team away from the day job for a bit, and they can do some sort of collaboration and really understand, okay, how would I mark something, for instance, and you've seen this idea, and what about that idea? So bringing in a quality manager has definitely made a huge improvement over the last few years to sort of how our response times are, how we're just in general, our tone and writing to passengers. And sort of, there is things as well where we will reply at times with some standard responses, but again, really making sure if we're going to do that, that they're so detailed, they're in depth, and they hit exactly what the passenger's asking.
Okay, that's excellent. Well, just to close then, it's probably good to get a comment from both of you on where rail is going. Maybe some of the initiatives you think that will be interesting in the next year or two, from the company or just from the industry more generally.
Yeah. I think the greatest thing coming for the rail companies at the moment is end of strikes, fingers crossed. At least end of strikes for RMT. We know that they're sort of ending at the moment. So that's going to be a fantastic to sort of see the end of that. That's been a huge strain on everybody involved, from our poor teams who are striking, our teams who are not, and trying to sort of implement new timetables. So I think that's going to be a real step change for our business, and to really going to help us drive the next level and drive our next sort of future strategy. Digital improvements, I think they're going to really take off over the next sort of few years, and looking at what else we can do to improve self-service, and always really looking at that enhanced customer experience, and our general operating model, really. So one of the things as being sort of head of customer transformation is for me is to really look at, okay, what are we doing now, but where do we want to be, and how do we get there? So that's gonna really exciting for the next sort of few years ahead.
And just to add, I think another item that we're really, really keen to explore more and more is AI. So I know I mentioned it earlier with web chat, but it's a huge thing that we know that it can do so much for us. So we really want to see how we can use that in our business to help improve our customers' experience and our people as well.
All right, that is fantastic oversight. It's great to get our first train company on the podcast, and hopefully we can talk to you in a year or so just to see how some of the AI rollout has gone. So thank you very much.
Well,
thank you.
Really nice to meet you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to the CX Files podcast. We really appreciate your feedback and suggestions. You can reach myself, Mark Hillary, or Peter Ryan via LinkedIn. Please also leave a rating or review on your favourite podcast provider, as that helps more people to find us. As always, we'd like to thank Chris Haig at Traction Media for the CX Files graphics. See you next week.